right. Well, there's only one thing I'm going to be talking about today, and that is the massive, massive news that it started as a rumor. It said the Wall Street Journal was reporting that Microsoft was like in talks or nearing a deal to acquire Activision Blizzard, and then I think within 5 minutes, it was fully confirmed with Microsoft putting out a press release that the deal is moving forward, and they are purchasing Activision Blizzard for $68.5 billion dollars. This is, in context, the biggest deal the industry has ever seen. And the last time we were talking about the biggest deal the industry has ever seen, it was Microsoft buying ZeniMax Bethesda for $7.5 billion dollars. So this is 10 times almost bigger than that deal, buying pretty much, I think, the largest, formerly independent publisher in the world. I don't, maybe not like 10, maybe other than like Tencent or something at this point, but it's a massive deal and kind of almost a parody of like Microsoft going on like a buying spree recently. Like I remember just how earth shattering it was when they announced the Bethesda deal. So for them to buy Activision Blizzard for this much money seems almost absurd. And like, even if, I'm a fan of what Xbox has been doing lately, I think they've done a great job with a lot of these acquisitions and their smart purchases, and they really turned around things on the hardware front. I kind of really respect their ideas for this multi-platform future with cloud streaming and Game Pass and all that stuff. And yet this almost feels like, okay, let's rein it in a little bit here in terms of industry consolidation. If they can make a purchase this big and corner, ownership of a section of a market this large, like this changes everything. Nothing is theoretically off the table now, especially for Microsoft, who is really probably the only one big enough to do things like this, outside of if you're talking about, Amazon or Google or Apple. Just, we want to get into the game industry, we're going to buy EA or something like that. Like Sony and Nintendo can't afford things like that. Nintendo's market cap is only a little higher than Activision's market cap. I know there's this story about how Microsoft asked about buying Nintendo, a long time ago, and they were like laughed out of the room. But like in terms of actual size, it does not seem like the craziest thing in the world, and that raises questions about pretty much every publisher that's left. I wrote an article speculating about if they could ever buy Bungie or something like that, which Bungie would be like small potatoes compared to this, like 5 billion, 10 billion. I don't know. It would still be a lot less than this, but that was just kind of a fun thought experiment, and yet it does not seem entirely implausible based on just how wild Microsoft is running with these kinds of purchases. So this raises so many questions. It's hard to know even where to start. And Microsoft is being kind of cagey about a lot of these answers in terms of what their actual plans are on a number of fronts. One big question has been whether or not Bobby Kotick is going to survive this, I would say, embattled CEO of Activision Blizzard, where, of course, we have to note that Activision Blizzard has been rocked by scandal after scandal in terms of its mistreatment of female employees and, various abuses that have gone on in the company there. They have fired executives. They have fired dozens of workers that have been caught up in these investigations. They are the subject of lawsuits, I think federal and in the state of California, in terms of kind of eventual settlements for these cases. And all of this happened under the watch of Bobby Kotick, but the board has supported him this whole time, and they think he's like this driving force for change, even though he himself has been accused of misconduct as well. So the question is whether Kotick will survive this. All of the initial text of what we're seeing with this announcement is that Bobby Kotick will stay on. He will stay on as CEO of Activision Blizzard, but like the language here is, once the deal is finalized, everything is going to run through Phil Spencer, and Phil Spencer will be like CEO of Xbox Gaming, and everything is going to run through him. So the implication seems to be that like maybe at that point Kotick wouldn't be there anymore, and they might buy him out. And I'm sure if Kotick leaves, he will be getting paid a ridiculous amount of money, if so. But like, even though they are saying like he's still CEO, he's staying in place, and he's on these calls, and there's all these like, oh, we're so happy with the transformations Bobby Kotick is making, and blah blah blah, and like it all sounds a little hypocritical, given that like a couple months ago Phil Spencer was talking about like you were reevaluating our relationship with Activision Blizzard and we're like disappointed with this and that. And like I guess this is one way to reevaluate your relationship where you buy the whole company and kind of force out the CEO. Like again, we don't know for sure if that's happening, but I would not be surprised that once this is kind of fully finalized that Bobby Kotick isn't just like chilling as a Phil Spencer subordinate and he just leaves because he's old, he has bazillions of dollars, and I don't imagine he would have signed off on this in the first place unless this was going to be some kind of massive windfall for him, which I'm sure it is, which is obviously not kind of justice for everything that's gone wrong over there, and yet that's the way the world works. So I would be surprised to see him around kind of long term, even if they're not kind of announcing his departure or a date that he's leaving right now. The second question, which may be more relevant to gamers, is what is going to happen with all of the various Activision Blizzard franchises? So Activision is Activision Blizzard King. King is a mobile arm. They make mobile games that just print money. Can't imagine that's going to change. Blizzard has a lot of, very classic franchises, but has been in kind of a tailspin lately. Most of their franchises are heavily based on PC and or mobile. Like Hearthstone is very PC mobile centric. World of Warcraft is obviously on PC, so I don't see like an Xbox version of World of Warcraft coming out or something like that. I would imagine, maybe Game Pass gets you a 3 to 6 month World of Warcraft sub or, something like that. But so the franchises we kind of have to think about are Overwatch and Overwatch 2, Diablo 4, and then obviously the main the main Activision one, Call of Duty. And the question is whether or not these franchises are now going to be Xbox exclusive. This is the same question we were asking after the Bethesda deal, but we could be in somewhat of a different situation here. Microsoft's exact wording in their statements so far have been these franchises, exist on many platforms and we are going to continue to support those platforms. I think PR kind of making comment on this said something like, yes, some games will be available on all platforms they're currently available on, others may be Xbox exclusive, but we don't have any actual kind of names of things here, and that raises questions. So here's the kind of calculus Microsoft has to make here in terms of this stuff, where they have to figure out if it's worth just cutting off PlayStation sales of Call of Duty, which is the best-selling game of the year, every single year as a way to kind of drive people to Xbox Game Pass. And I know we had the same conversation about like Elder Scrolls and Fallout and Starfield and stuff, and it turned out that all of those just became Xbox exclusive. So that could be the answer here, that Call of Duty as a franchise could be going Xbox exclusive, but the sales are so high for that franchise that you also have to think they could just pull a Minecraft situation, where Minecraft is a game wholly owned by Microsoft at this point, and yet it is still available on all platforms, including PlayStation, because Microsoft has deemed that is best for them. So they have to make the calculation of whether the sales that they're losing for Call of Duty are offset enough by the amount of Game Pass subscriptions that would drive or something. And if they do keep it on PlayStation, it stands to reason that the difference would be, okay, you can still pay $70 a year for it on PlayStation to play it there, or you can just get it for free day one on Game Pass, which seems likely to happen under Microsoft. So that would still be a huge advantage to them. Again, this is the same thing we were kind of saying with the Bethesda deal, and that those games could do that too, but those all went to Microsoft. I am leaning toward the idea that they would keep Call of Duty multi-platform. I am less confident about games like Overwatch and Diablo. That seems to me like those are series that, they're popular, they're big selling. I'm sure Diablo 4 especially is going to sell a bazillion copies, but I would be less surprised to see Overwatch 2 launch as a PC and Xbox exclusive, or Diablo to launch. Diablo's main platform is kind of always PC, but they ended up making console versions of Diablo 3, and I would not be shocked to see that be Xbox only too. And maybe Blizzard, maybe even if Call of Duty is still kind of multi-platform like Minecraft, Blizzard titles going forward would be Microsoft exclusive. That's a scenario that sounds the most logical to me, and yet it is possible both that all series could remain multi-platform or none of them could. So we don't know yet. Their current phrasing suggests that some major franchises at least will stay multi-platform, at least for now. It says we will continue to support those communities, but Does that just mean they're going to support, Vanguard for the next few years, but the next Call of Duties themselves will be Xbox exclusive? We don't know. And they're not really commenting on this, and there's no way to parse exactly what they're saying because they're trying to be kind of purposefully obscure here to not really commit to one thing or the other. And they may not have even decided yet. This also raises questions just sort of about development of these games, period. I've written like 3 articles about this today already, but one concept is Activision has just turned into this like grueling Call of Duty manufacturing assembly line where it has like 8 or 9 studios that are all just doing nothing except working as Call of Duty, primary or support staff. It is pretty much every studio Activision owns that is not under Blizzard or King that is working on Call of Duty. So the question is, will Microsoft maintain that pace? Are we still going to see these yearly Call of Duty installments because they sell so well, and in addition to continuous Warzone support, or will Microsoft lay off the gas and be like, okay, maybe it's okay for Call of Duty to take a year off every once in a while, recharge the franchise, have some of these other talented studios be working on other things that aren't just toiling in the Call of Duty mines and things like that. We don't know. We also don't know what this might do on Blizzard's end. Blizzard is kind of in shambles right now. They have lost a huge amount of their upper leadership. They have lost a large number of developers because of these kind of purges, and the work culture there has been terrible for years and years. And this has put Overwatch 2 in limbo, and then that is, Overwatch 2 has caused development on Overwatch to essentially stop. Diablo 4 lost its game director and a number of higher ups there, and that seems to be years and years out still. I do wonder if we might see some sort of shift here where like it's always been kind of considered a very Activision thing to be like, okay, we need Overwatch 2 with a 2 on it because that's, we want a sequel that sells things. Whereas like that's stupid. And as soon as Bungie left Activision, they stopped feeling the need to make numbered sequels. Like I don't think they would have ever made Destiny 2 if it was kind of up to them. And so now that Blizzard is not, being dictated to directly by Activision only, and Microsoft has a say in things, I do wonder if kind of Blizzard's development will shift and not kind of do things like that anymore. I don't know if this will change plans for Overwatch 2 or Diablo 4, but it certainly seems possible. Like I would not rule that out, and I don't know. I don't know what can be done to kind of salvage Overwatch's reputation at this current moment, and like production on 2 seems all over the place, but I wouldn't be surprised to see some sort of impact there. Just kind of how I feel about this in general, I don't love it. Like I said, I think Microsoft has made a lot of good moves and they've really shown their commitment to gaming and all this, but this seems to me like such a power grab, like such a land grab that I don't know if it's healthy for the industry to have one company control, this large a portion of things. And I feel like this is only going to get worse in time. I do wonder if antitrust regulation will have anything to say about this. Part of games being available on other platforms may actually come into this, where if Microsoft lets Call of Duty still come on PlayStation or still be released there, maybe they'll avoid some scrutiny because they're like, oh no, we're just a publisher, we're not locking out our competition from all these games, like we're they're still available there, so that could potentially be ammo there. I do not have much faith in the U.S. antitrust regulation system at this point. Microsoft has already declared a monopoly a number of years ago, and like not that much happened from that, and they have just only grown in power and size and influence ever since. I do wonder if this will motivate Microsoft's like kind of at scale competitors to figure gaming out more. Like Google had a kind of disastrous entry into gaming with Stadia, and they shuttered their own first party development service, but like will they start trying to buy major developers, or will Amazon Games expand or buy more developers to be under its umbrella? Is Apple going to get into this space? Could Apple start buying mobile developers? I do wonder if these other companies are seeing Microsoft go kind of this hard into gaming and feel the need to kind of do a lot more than they have been, because Microsoft is really starting to dominate this space. It's dominating against existing competitors like Sony and Nintendo, just in terms of the sheer scale of these acquisitions, and it's dominating its kind of larger tech competition because they're just barely involved in the gaming space at all. So that's a whole other question there. Um, it is hard to fully fathom the scale of this. This is probably one of the biggest gaming stories I can ever remember happening. Like in terms of the sheer potential impact this may have on the industry at large and kind of the future of how the industry takes shape. This was Nadella from Microsoft said the word metaverse a lot on the call. And this is supposed to be some sort of like metaverse play, even though, by saying that, you're kind of admitting that like the metaverse is just video games. Like you're just buying a lot of video games and somehow that is qualifying as the metaverse now. So I don't, it sounds like kind of nonsense, but I do agree with the idea that if you own a huge chunk of video game IPs and we are marching towards this like Ready Player One like connected metaverse idea, you are at an advantage over a lot of your competition. And this is a more kind of real realization of that than all these stupid blockchain NFT, Decentraland, blah, blah, blah. Like that's not the metaverse. Like Microsoft owning 24 major huge franchises that they could all interconnect in some way, that is more metaverse-ish than anything else we're seeing out there. So I don't know. It's a huge deal. There is so much of this to dissect and a lot more information that kind of needs to be known, but that's kind of where things stand now. And I just kind of wanted to give a rundown of where we think we're at right now and kind of my initial thoughts. So let me know what you think about this in the comments. I'm sure there'll be plenty more to say, but thanks for watching and I'll talk to you soon. Take care.